Now then, I've just been sort of generally refurbing this stove while making new bits for it. It's a very narrow bottle and it's quite thick wall, so it's very old, and of course it was scrap. Anyway, this video is not about this stove, it's about the chimney. And I have, over the years, I've developed a method of making the boss, or attaching the chimney boss, that also includes a damper, and it's very easy. You don't have to cut round holes, which is the most important bit. So let's zoom in and I'll show you where we're at. Okay, I've got this piece of 4.5 inch pipe, and it's about, I don't know, 2.5 mil in diameter. So what we want to do, I've marked the centre line, and we want the pipe to stick halfway over the back. Yeah, about there. And I'll just mark the other side. That's about right. Okay, and then let's mark the top, showing the outside of the pipe. There we go. Okay, so this pipe will want to be cut up there and round there. Okay. So we've got the outside of the pipe marked. So we want to come down here and down here and across like that. That's easy to cut out. Straight down, straight down, straight across. So put the pipe back on. Yeah. And mark round the outside. So that now, once we've got that cut out, we can cut from that same line there, yeah, and we can cut like that. That's quite a big hole, rather than a small hole that you would have to cut out to match there. And trying to cut a round hole with an angle grinder is a bit messy. Chop, 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 chop. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of pipe, I'm going to cut that notch out, and then go off to the power hacksaw and cut a section, because we don't want this boss to be too long. Okay, and once we've got that in place and these cut out, I can show you how I fit the damper. Okay, that's that cut, and that cut on the power hacksaw, so it's fairly straight. Then that goes there. Okay, I'm just shuffling this about. I'm just going to grab hold of the camera and show you what it looks like down there. There we go. So we can cut loads of stuff out and cut it out there, and then of course we'll just have to blank this off here with a bit of flat plate. But it's all fairly straight cuts, no round cuts, and actually it's creating a bigger hole in the stove than just that of the pipe, so there's no restriction so far. And Right, let's stand her upright. As you can see, there we go. Easy, not a bother. So I'm just going to cut the top piece out, probably with a smaller angle grinder, and we'll see how we get on. Okay. I'm just going to change the disc. Right you are, let's have a look. Of course, the smaller the disc, the more you can cut a tighter area, but the less you can get in there. So it's a fine balance. Anyway, that's not bad. If I really wanted to, I could grind that now, but I don't need to. That's quite a big hole. Okay, right. Where are we? Next thing. And I need to find a piece of plate to make a damper out of. I need a flat bit of plate. Let me just spin this around a bit. What we do, that goes on there, okay? And the damper can slide in there. So what we do is, when we're welding this in place, we just lift this up a bit. So to create a gap there, and the damper, imagine that is it, will just slide in there like that. Hopefully that all makes sense. So I'm going to go and find a piece of plate. I've got my tape measure with me. I have. It wants to be sort of a couple of mil thick and probably about 3 inches wide. So I'll get back to you shortly. So, we have this bit of plate here, and that goes on there like that, and the bit of plate slides in there. Okay, now I'll again put a view down there, you'll see the damper doesn't entirely close it off, which is a good idea. Okay, we're on wobbly cam again, but can you see that the damper goes, but not all the way, so there's little gaps around it. I think we maybe just cut the fine corners off that damper, just so it goes in a bit more, but you do not want to close it up totally, so because that way, you know, you will get fumes coming back into the room, yeah, and you'll get tarring up and all sorts of things. So I'll just cut a little corners off those, and we're about there. And of course on this damper then you weld a piece of handle of some form onto that, so you can slide that in and out. So you just got to make sure that the gap for the damper here is wide enough so it's not a tight fit, but you don't want it really slack. Okay, let's crack on. Okay, I've set that up, and now I'm just going to tack that in place with the welder. A lot of the stuff is just tacked together on this stove so far, and once I'm happy with it all, I will just go round it all when the sun is shining. So therefore the weld will be running off the solar grid inverter panels and inverter system. So there we go. And if you noticed, I've used that 1mm disc as a packer, just to keep that chimney section up a tad. Yeah, and there's a bit of a gap here, so I will have to fill those in with a bit of old bolt or something, and the arc welder, and just weld it round. Great, so let's just tack it together. Okay, I filled those little gaps in temporarily. Well, I filled them in permanently, but the welding needs finishing, and the dampers there. I was just thinking about how I'm going to operate the damper. You never know, you might want to put a kettle there. So if you had a damper like that, it would be in the way. So perhaps we can do that. And if it doesn't work, then we'll do something else. We'll just cut it off. But if it does, then that's grand. And this is just a bit of bent old bolt that we had kicking about in the pile. So if I just grind that off, grind it off there, grind it there, and put the earth electrode there, and just tack that on, then that'll do. And of course the other thing, let me just see if we're in shot. Not really. So the other thing is to get a bit of plate like this and put it there, but we'll have to just cut a curve to block the hole off. Okay, so I'll get on with that. I think the blocking the bottom off is the most important thing, really. Yeah, just get that cut to shape, and then we're nearly there. And then we can talk about the boss for the next piece of pipe. Yeah, if you're just using standard bits of steel pipe, then obviously when you join this together, you need to make a boss for one to slide over the other, and it's easy, and we'll get on with that in a minute. Okay, there we go. We've got that plate tacked on the bottom there. Yep, so it's ground and to the right size, and then we put this little lever on the damper. And if you notice, I've cut the corners off then that'll just go in there like that. So these little blocks that I put in there actually acts as guides. Now, one thing, when you are cutting all these little bits, where are we? Okay, all these little bits, right? Just be very careful of them and make sure you pick them all up. We don't want those in the tyres and all those sorts of things. Wheelbarrow tyres, vehicle tyres, you name it. Okay, make sure they all get picked up. Okay, we split that down the middle, and this is a bit tough. Right, let's get another piece of pipe in the vise. Okay, let's see how we get on now. Can you see that I've made a socket there? Yeah. Now it might be a little bit tight. Okay. I'm going to transfer that over to there. Let's see how this fits. Not bad. There you go. Simples, isn't it? And then all you do is take a piece of the piece that we cut from there and cut it to width and weld it on, and we'll weld it onto this pipe here. And once this is tacked on and welded, if you need to open this out a bit, you can belt it with a hammer. I'm going to leave it at that because that is so simple, isn't it? Okay, rough and ready, making a boss, chimney boss for a stove, yeah, and a chimney damper, and a connection between equal sized bits of pipe. Rough and ready, yeah, backwoods methods of doing this. This is a stove that will only be used occasionally, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You know, you can spend a fortune on stoves, and if they're used every day, then sometimes that fortune is worth it, as long as you're not buying into the latest trend. Yeah, but making a stove like this for a shed that's only might be used, I don't know, say once a week for maybe 4 to 5 weeks or 10 weeks or something like that. It doesn't have to be hugely expensive. Yeah, you can make it as long as the flue is big enough so that all the fumes are away. You know, burning wood, some people are starting to get a bit fundamentalist about burning wood, but when you're out in the sticks, then the opportunities or the options, shall we say, are for heating is electricity, LPG or propane, oil, coal or wood. And if you can grow your own wood and process it and make sure it's bone dry, then what's the problem? I mean, okay, in town, where there's all these houses closely packed together and somebody's burning some wood far too slowly, or it's not seasoned enough and you get all that smoke, fair enough. But they're burning gas, there's diesel, there's oil fired central heating, And okay, electricity, but if you've got an electric house where everything, including your heating, is from one source, then you're laying yourself open to a nightmare situation. Middle of winter, the power goes down, yeah, you've got no heating, no cooking, no lighting, no nothing. Yeah, even if you've got gas central heating, you need electricity for that to work. So a multitude of different energies or power sources is very important. So you know, if you've got solar and batteries and grid and wood, and then of course in town you'll have mains gas or maybe propane. But you see, you know, mains gas, propane, they're carbon based. Yeah, they're from fossil carbon, whereas the wood that we're burning is from trees that we've grown, that we started planting in 1988. Yeah, and so therefore I'm thinking that that is very sustainable. You grow your own wood, you process it, and in the process of growing your own wood, you're planting trees and creating habitat. So anyway, discussions to be had on all sorts of subjects, and I will catch up with you soon. Cheers for now.